Welcome back friends. In my first video we have seen Someshwar Mahadev temple from inside. Now we are going to explore this temple from the outside. The uniqueness of this temple is that it has many sculptures of Nathasiddhas or Navnathas. So friends, let us explore that. Adhisthana or the foundation of this temple is in a lotus flower shape or Padma shape, which has many corners and fillets all across. Then above that is a Madhyasthana or middle part, where we see many sculptures in a clockwise direction along circumambulatory path. And the first one is a sculpture of Veerabhadra or Bhairava, holding sword in one hand. Then you see the sculpture of two yogis here, and they are shown in a Padmasana. The big sculpture of the yogi is, I think, a guru, and the smaller sculpture is shown as he is a disciple. Both are holding something in their hand. That's the guru is holding flower in his right hand, and the disciple or the shishya is holding something. That means the guru is transferring his knowledge, he is awakening the disciples or shishya's consciousness. Hence, he is shown with the flower. And friends, those yogis are none other than the Nath Siddhas. So, they are from Navnath Sampradaya. Here, I think the Guru is Adhinath and the Shishya or the disciple is Machindranath. Why? Because the disciple is shown with a fish holding in his hand. So he is Machindranath. Also, we see sculpture of Lord Ganesha, and then there is another sculpture of Rushi or sage who is shown praying Lord Ganesha. The sage, I think, might be Kanthadinath, who is shown here as a worshipper of Lord Ganesha. Here we get to see the carving or sculpture of childbirth. Mother is giving birth to the child. It symbolizes the fertility and the generation and creation. This is the entrance from the south side. The entrance is same as we saw the main entrance, except the carvings on the entrance of the south side are worn out, very much worn out, and the blocks on which the carvings are made are in a loose condition. This particular section needs to be paid attention for restoration. On the exterior part of the temple, I see a lot of hero stones or virgalas. It seems very strange because virgalas are placed aside of the temple separately. But I think the temple might have been destroyed or partially might have been destroyed in natural calamity, and somebody that time long ago in a restoration work might have placed these virgalas on the exterior front. Here in this sculpture, the yogi is shown inviting a powerful deity, and the powerful deity is none other than the sun god, and the yogi is Machindranath. This instance shows the birth story of Guru Gorakhnath, and it was also mentioned in Navnath Bhaktisar. There was a lady who did not have a child. Then Machindranath gave her a chanted bhasma, and told her eternal power will be born to you. But the lady was skeptical and she threw the bhasma into the garbage pile. And after 12 years, when Machindranath came back and came to know the bhasma was thrown into the garbage pile, then Machindranath invited Sun God to incarnate in the form of child, and that child is none other than Guru Goraknath. This sculpture, I think, shows the instance that Machindranath is getting the initiation from his Guru, Supreme Guru, Guru Dattatreya. Because this sculpture of Nath is shown in a position of doing tapasya, and aside you see a sculpture of Guru Datta. Why? Because if you notice behind the sculpture of Guru Datta, there is a sculpture, small sculpture of holy cow sitting. So generally we see a holy cow and dogs in a photo of Lord Guru Dattatreya. So I think this sculpture is Lord Guru Dattatreya and he is giving initiation Diksha to Machindranath, that's shown here. This sculpture is of Gahininath. Gahininath is shown in this sculpture sitting in Padmasana and holding Shivalinga in his both hands. This sculpture is of Machindranath. Matsyendra means Lord of Fishes. Hence, you can see a carving of fish beneath this sculpture, showing the sculpture is of Matsyendranath. I think this sculpture is of Guru Gorakshanath. Guru Gorakshanath is a very powerful yogi in Nath Sampradaya. He is shown here as holding a flower in his right hand and doing sadhana. Also, you notice there is a blooming lotus flower on his head, shown like that way. It indicates that the Guru has awakened his Kundalini Shakti or Kundalini power. Here you see a Lord Brahma sculpture inside a beautiful Dev Kostaka. Also, aside of that, you will find a beautiful idol of Lord Ganesha. Now, friends, the uniqueness of Nine Nath or Navnath is that they are Ionis. That means they are not born through mother's womb or through the natural reproduction system. And in Navnath Bhaktisar, it is mentioned that Lord Brahma created them. And hence, in this temple also, you will find many references of Lord Brahma or the sculptures of Lord Brahma. If you notice this sculpture, you will find the sculpture is having long and strong hands. Also, the ears are shown elongated. And beside that, there is a sculpture of Lord Brahma. And this sculpture, I think, is of Lord Kubera because he is holding bag of wealth in his right hand. Now, this is a sculpture of Veerbhadra or Kalabhairava or Bhairava. The Bhairava is shown naked, wearing a garland of human skulls, and there is an instance of fight between Machindranath and Bhairava or Veerbhadra, where Machindranath wins the war. In Navnath Kathasar, Machindranath defeated Lord Bhairava or Veerbhadra, and then many gods and deities actually blessed Machindranath with various weapons and asras. So here you see the sculpture of Vetala, who is a king of ghosts, and you will also see another sculpture of Vetala ahead. Then another sculpture is of again Lord Veerbhadra because he is shown here naked. And this sculpture is Ashwini Kumar's sculpture, who actually bless Machindranath with Mohini Vidya. And this beautiful sculpture is of Lord Keshava. He is holding a shankha or shanku in his backward right hand, and in backward left hand he is holding chakra. In front left hand he is holding gada, and in front right hand he is holding padma. Here is a sculpture of Devi Parvati, a taken instance from the Shiva Parvati marriage or vivaha. She is holding a varmala in her right hand and tilak patra in her left hand. As I mentioned earlier, that we get to see another sculpture of Vetala. Vetala is a king of ghosts. In Navnath Kathasar, it is mentioned that Machindranath defeated all the ghosts and their king Vetala in order to get their support for the Shabri Vidya, and the same is shown here. You see this sculpture of Machindranath in victorious pose, and behind that there is a sculpture of Vetala. This beautiful idol in a Dev Koshtaka is of Lord Shiva. The uniqueness of this sculpture is that it is shown as a Keval Shiva. Below this sculpture, there is a carving of Nandi, and here the Shiva is shown with the trident, damru, and weapon, and he is also shown in a Abhay Mudra. In this temple, we get to see many sculptures of Sursundri. Like here, you see extreme right is a sculpture of Mridangavadika. Then in the center is a sculpture of Darpana. She is seeing her face in a mirror. Then here you see Vishakanya who is holding snake in her right hand, and in the Dev Koshtaka there is a sculpture of goddess. All across the temple you will get to see the deities are holding something in their hand. Okay, and that I think might be the weapons to offer to the Nathsiddhas. The same is shown here in this sculpture. If you see here the second last sculpture, you will find the same. Then this sculpture is of Lord Guru Dattatreya, because you observe these sculptures carefully, you will find the carving of dog behind this sculpture, and sometimes cow is shown with Guru Dattatreya. Here is a cluster of sculptures where I want to focus on this particular sculpture where a lady is shown with the monkey, and the pose of the lady is such that her right hand is placed upward and her left hand is at bottomward, and such a stance generally we see in an advanced fighting technique, that is kung fu or martial art. So do we consider here that the lady might be the fighter one, or she was trained to defend herself or others through advanced fighting technique like kung fu or martial art? In Navnath Bhaktisar, it is mentioned that Machindranath worshipped goddess Kali or goddess Chamunda, and goddess Chamunda blessed Machindranath for his work towards Shabri Vidya. At the court of goddess Chamunda, there were Ashtadashi and Ashtabhairava. So, this sculpture, extreme right, is a Bhringi, might be the one of Ashtabhairava or Ashtadasi. Then this sculpture is of Putravallabha. She is holding baby in her hand, and this sculpture is of Bhutagana. And then this beautiful sculpture is Lord Shiva, and that is Nataraja. Now, talking about these sculptures, where we see first the sculpture in a Dev Koshtaka is of goddess Lakshmi, or maybe of Mohini, one of the incarnation of the Lord Vishnu. And the left hand side backward sculpture is of Lord Surya or Sun Devta, because there are 7 horses carved below this sculpture. In this iconography on the temple, where you see a yogi is doing yogic activity, and it's a sort of like a nagasana, and also you see the carving of the naga or the sarpa is made there, so I think he might be Nagnath. Now this yogi you see doing some tapasya or sadhana, and beside him there is another sculpture that is of Guru Gorakhnath, and the yogi who is doing the sadhana is a Bhartarinath. There is a story mentioned in the Navnath Kathasar of Bhartarinath. Here you see in the carving of Guru Gorakhnath is holding a pot. And this pot story is mentioned in the Navnath Kathasar. It transformed Bhartari into Bhartarinath. And here you see the fully awakened Bhartarinath is shown through this carving holding a flower in his hand. Here we see the carving of a serpent or naga, and then we see here a yogi or Nath Siddhas is doing tapasya or sadhana, and below that there is a carving of snake. So I think he is Naganath. This is the sculpture of Harihar and Lakshmi. Then this is the north side entrance into the temple. Here again we get to see the sculpture of Lord Ganesha with Kanthadinath. And then coming forward we can see the sculptures or carvings of Surusundaris. The first one is a Rudungavadika, then second one is a Veena Vadika, third one is a Nartaki, and then there is a sculpture of I think goddess Parvati. And in the middle you get to see the sculpture of Machindranath, then goddess Lakshmi and Virbhadra. So this is the instance taken from the Navnath Kathasar, I think, after defeating Virbhadra. And here we get to see the second sculpture that is of the prince, and that prince is none other than I think Minnath as mentioned in the Navnath Kathasar. Now we have completed the iconography on the Janga portion of this beautiful Someshwar Mahadev temple. Now we will explore the campus of this temple. So first thing we get to see is this beautiful step well. Each step is beautifully carved and it has a various designs on it. So what used to happen in ancient time when ancient builder when they used to make such a beautiful temple, they needed stones. So they used to dig a big ditch from where they get the stones in order to make the various sculptures and carvings as well as to build the temple. And later on they beautify the ditch by constructing this beautiful step well where the water can be stored as a reservoir. In the temple premises, I got to see many ruined, broken, and incomplete stone carved sculptures. Out of that, this one is a Sheshai Lord Vishnu sculpture with Goddess Lakshmi. And friends, the 10 incarnation of Lord Vishnu also carved at the top. Here you see the first incarnation or avatar is a Matsya avatar. Then there is Kurma avatar, then Varaha avatar, and then Narsimha avatar, Vaman avatar, Parshuram avatar, then Ram avatar. After that, Lord Krishna is there. Then Lord Buddha is carved, and at the last tenth is the Lord Kalki. Another sculpture in the temple premises we found is of Lord Keshava, where we also notice the carving of Garuda and goddess Lakshmi at the bottom of this sculpture. This sculpture is of Lord Keshava because the Lord Keshava is holding Shankha, Chakra, Gadha and is in Abhay Mudra. Another incomplete sculpture I found here is of Yajnavaraha. So, if you notice this photo, you will find beautiful carving made on Yajnavaraha. There is another ancient temple aside of Someshwar Mahadev temple, and the temple is called Rameshwar Mahadev temple. This ancient temple was as old as the Someshwar Mahadev temple, but it was restored because the old temple was in dilapidated state. The uniqueness of this temple is that in front of this temple there is a massive and well preserved step well. The step well is beautifully preserved and it is intact. So friend, this is all about the Someshwar Mahadev temple. If you like this video, please let me know in comment section. Do subscribe and share my videos.